Hey, Farva.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Hey, is any of this sinking in?
Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns.
You're dead. Dead.
What's the name of that restaurant you like with all the goofy shit on the walls and the mozzarella sticks? You mean Shenanigans? No. You're talking about Shenanigans, right?
We doing this again?
Always. Welcome to this week's Spooky Scary.
Man, you need some Dracula teeth and a cape to do it.
I don't have either. But as Matt said, need some Dracula up in this bitch. And we're bringing the Dracula. The 1931 Dracula.
By the way, welcome to the 35mm podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Alex.
I'm Tracy.
Yeah, we're talking about Dracula, the 1931 classic. I mean, shit.
Yeah, I mean, this is the second movie we've done with that character in it, though, was because last year we did.
Well, with that character and with that actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Yeah, which is, I got me thinking, I felt like we needed to, I chose this specifically. I felt like we needed a kind of like an old school movie. Like we didn't have nothing lined up for this year. And I was like, well, let's get a classic in there. I'd never seen it also.
Yeah, I haven't either. So it was.
But you 18, I mean.
We had this discussion with Abbott and Costello, but Matt, they're 18. You're their kid. You're their dad. Like, I mean, I figured I would be like, here's your 13. You did this. Like, here's your classic.
My rite of passage.
Yes. Like, I found movies on my own. There was no
one to guide you, but now you do. You have us to guide you.
I do.
Did you do any research for this?
Nope.
And do you do any research for any of the movies?
Nope.
Why not?
Because I'm treating it like grad school. No research. Let's just go. This is, I come here to receive, drink from the fountain.
Like it's okay to like go into the movie blind, but you could do like a little something like afterwards. Thought this was going to be like this is a team effort, Tracy. I'll team,
try
go.
To do better.
Go. Even if you just like skim the fucking.
I'll like skim the Wikipedia page going forward.
That's what I did. Like, there's a psychology to each of Tom Brown, like to the director's movies.
Tod Browning, he's the director of this. He didn't really want to do this film, and in a few scenes you can kind of tell.
Well, wasn't it because he wanted to do a silent film and not a sound film? Well,
yeah, he couldn't. He wasn't adapting to the era.
He was that version's like of a boomer.
Well, because whenever talkies came out, like a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's just a fad; it won't last." And that's why in this movie you don't have a music score.
Yeah, I bet you just have that nice warm record player,
like static
fuzz in the background,
like some Swan Lake in there.
And yeah, that's about all you get. And there was like one other song, but Universal did commission someone to make a music track for this movie. Most of the directing duties, though, were done by Carl Frun, who is the director of cinematography, and he's the one who made all the blocking shots and all that stuff. But he's also done directing. He'll actually direct another Universal monster movie with The Mummy.
Yeah.
And he also directed Metropolis. But then he was like, okay, I'm done with film. I'm going to be the director of photography for I Love Lucy. I was just like, oh, okay, cool.
That's cool.
The producer, Carl Lammel, he was the original owner of Universal, which was sold a few years after this. And his niece was the last surviving person of this film. She was young, very young. She was like an extra in the movie. When they go to the village.
Well, the guy that played Renfield died pretty young too, but it was like he was like what, 40? And
something like that.
It was like a heart attack or something.
Because have you seen that famous Elvis sandwich with the PBJ bacon and like a pound of bacon, a pound of peanut butter, a pound of jelly, and a bun? That's probably what he ate and killed him.
Oh, I was like, where are we going with this?
He died young.
To do with anything.
That or just the stress of it all. Because when you look at these filmographies, they were doing like, some of these actors were cranking out like 3 or 4 movies a year, if not more.
it could also be, people smoked a lot back then.
I do want to mention that Carl Lammel was actually won a Oscar for producer All Quiet on the Western Front, which they just remade on Netflix, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it won for cinematography, I think.
Yeah. And he was also a big, he did a lot in the 30s to get Jews away from Germany too. Was trying to fight to keep Jews from being deported. And this is the 30s, so this wasn't very non-intervention US and appeasement to Nazi Germany. And he lost. He ended up not able to save them.
That's well.
But he was able to save a lot. Dracula, of course. Bram Stoker. Have you ever read the books?
I have not.
I read a majority of it in high school.
I've read parts of Dracula and Frankenstein. Frankenstein's the one that's written more like a journal.
If I remember correctly, Bram Stoker's the Dracula is written as a journal of Helsing.
One of them was I think so.
Because it's a epistolary novel related through letters, diary entries, and newspaper articles.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yeah, because I remember parts of that, kind of vaguely, chunks of it coming across, and you can tell, looking at an unabridged version of Dracula versus Frankenstein, and it's
if you've ever seen the Francis Ford Coppola version, they have some voiceover, and it's from the letters.
Yeah, with
Keanu Reeves
and Gary Oldman, right?
Yeah, Gary Oldman's great in that movie. I love that fucking movie. Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder as English people, not so much.
They tried.
This movie has influenced so fucking much. There's no end. I noted just one heavily influenced Castlevania.
Oh yeah,
holy shit.
The gothic horror look that it achieves in it is so groundbreaking, and just you see it everywhere. Because even you see it kind of influence, you see it it reminded me a lot. I'm playing Bloodborne. I've talked about it at the time of this recording, and there's a lot similar details and kind of the Soulsborne games, kind of the dark horror fantasy aspects that they kind of this lean into, that they draw from this to kind of add to the environment. And this is a very well done, just setting and stage that I think they did really well.
Of course, when you go against Dracula in the games, especially the early ones, they look like fucking Bela Lugosi. It also influenced other, if you've seen Dracula, you've seen some looking like Bela Lugosi, in the dress, with the cape, with the suit, with the pendant on his neck,
with the voice.
Yeah, well, not as much. Kind of, yes, but in a way, I want to suck your blood. Dracula's influenced other movies like Monster Squad.
And
eventually, the quadrilogy, Twilight.
Oh, man. What We Do in the Shadows?
I have not seen that yet.
I need to watch that.
Oh, okay. It's fucking amazing. The first season's a little rough, but about the second season, it gets fantastic. But one of the main characters, his mannerisms and speaking patterns, is very heavily influenced by Bela Lugosi in this. Because I am Nando the Relentless. I'm coming to visit. And he has a very Bela Lugosi style speaking.
If you go to the IMDb where it's this has been referenced in, it has been referenced in literally almost every year since this movie came out.
This movie is just so wide reaching. It's hard to just kind of avoid it.
I plan on y'all for not seeing this movie, or Tracy really for not seeing this movie, despite being in his 30s. But I was probably in my 20s when I first saw it. I probably knew more about the references than the movie.
That's how I went into it, because an 18-year-old, so that's how
and young people aren't exactly TCM heads yet.
Yeah. And I'm a little disappointed he didn't look like Dominic Purcell.
So I know neither of y'all watched the trailer. It's a good one. It's kind of cute. Scenes from the movie, but it's kind of
in the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, and it's old style trailers where it's come see the greatest Bram Stoker's Dracula. And just like those type of trailers back then, which they would never do today.
Like a very why we fight kind of feel to it, with like the major fanfare and.
But an hour and 14 minutes, you are in, you are fucking out with this movie.
It is. Now I do say it does kind of move slow for the hour 14 minutes. Like it kind of does sit with scenes because this was taken from a play, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So like it kind of like, here we go, it kind of pulls away from it kind of deal. So like the scenes themselves, like, well, Bela Lugosi does a good job, of course, but like it just kind of like you feel like they move kind of slow paced.
Honestly, movies should try to do this again. Let's try to get under $130.
Maybe we're just spoiled nowadays with movies moving as fast as they are.
Well, no, like movies are having to be like damn near 2 hours long almost every time. So anything you want to add?
No, not really.
If I could say something overall, I'm really surprised for how much Bela Lugosi kind of actually isn't in the movie, though.
Yeah.
Like Dracula as a titular character is a very, like, it's almost Godzilla. What was it? The 2014 one where they don't show it.
Oh yeah, where you barely.
You don't see
hate
him
that
till
fucking-
like. You don't like that one?
No, we've talked about this.
The one with me, you, and Vinny went saw in theater.
Yeah, because you don't see Godzilla.
I think that adds to it. Like you don't see him. You don't see the show.
Yeah,
until
but they
you
didn't.
actually-
I mean, it's Godzilla. It is like the 50th Godzilla fucking movie ever made. Show me Godzilla.
I mean, after you see him the first time, you get a lot of Godzilla. Hell, in the Godzilla vs. Kong movie, you get the triple threat. You get the 3-man rubber match.
Apparently, people don't like Godzilla versus Kong. It was great. I loved it. You got what you wanted. It said Godzilla. You got Godzilla. You got Kong. You got them fucking fighting. You also got Mecha Godzilla.
Were they expecting Citizen Kane or something? I mean,
I am here for the fucking series. So we open on a carriage in Transylvania. Driver is like, yo, we got to get the fuck out of here because Nosferatu.
Nosferatu.
Tracy doesn't have kids, so he doesn't.
I don't get the SpongeBob, but a song I like is Nosferatu. And so, like, that spots in my head every time I hear Nosferatu.
Have you ever seen the silent film? It's okay. I mean, it's good.
I seriously only know Nosferatu from SpongeBob. That is it.
And they also talk about Walpurgis Night, the Night of Evil. Like when they're talking about this, and this woman sitting beside him is like looking at him like he's full of shit. And then from here we transition to a baby and people praying in this village, and with this carriage coming in, they're like, oh my god, people, human life. Then you have Renfield who's like, hey, yeah, I need to go on to the next place.
Nope, sorry, you need to stay here.
And yeah, everybody's like, what the fuck, dude? No, you need to stay here. This is Dwight Frye. He was in several Universal Monster movies.
No, he played something. He played like, neurotic characters. Like,
okay, you seen Frankenstein? Okay, he plays the main like sidekick in that movie, Fritz. Mm-hmm. He also plays Carl in Bride of Frankenstein, who is another sidekick.
He was at like before, like I mentioned how he died very young. He was actually about like before he died or something, he was going to be in a biography pick about Woodrow Wilson.
Yep. And, like many other actors in this movie, he was also typecast, which sucks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I genuinely do like Dwight Frye in this movie, though.
I do too.
I mean, you have Bela Lugosi, but Dwight Frye kind of makes this movie with his facial expressions.
Yeah, and his kind of like cuckoo crazy kind of deal.
He was a very, very much an early Hollywood guy. And yeah, and he was also acting in movies back then when it was much easier to act in movies.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, like some of these people were cranking out like 3-4 movie roles a year.
Yeah, so they were like,
and they would be produced within a year. So you had a lot of jobs going on. Yeah. Now you get signed on, you're kind of on there for a whole, how much ever long the production is.
Your schedule, promotion,
reshoots, all promotion. Yeah. All that shit. Yeah. But Renfield's like, I heard y'all. I hear you, but I got to move on to meet the very fucking guy you're talking about. And the village is like, well, dumbass, we warned you.
They were like, yeah, you're on your own now, buddy.
He's gonna get dropped off. I'm like, see him, like literally, like doesn't even stop. The wedding went out and just like keep going, just tuck and roll.
Hey, I'm kind of surprised. Like everybody's like, "Oh my god, why are you doing this?" And the carriage driver's like, "Yeah, sure, let's do this. I need my Uber money. Come on." So kind of like in between this, we go to the crypts. You get a nice shot of the underground of the castle. You see the caskets, and then a hand comes out of them, and then, of course, the European indigenous possums pop out because all the possums that are in Europe.
So it was on Amazon Prime, right, with the X-ray, but somehow like possums and rats and stuff were attached to vampires because they dig through the ground and stuff. And it's like, man, possums, you're giving them a bad name. Possums are cool as fuck.
Also, a bug, I think, had its own casket. Did you notice that?
No.
There was a little bitty casket about that big, and there's a bug that crawls out of it. No, it was a bug. Meanwhile, a woman pops out, and then we get our fucking guy, the titular character, Dracula, Bela Lugosi. Probably, if you talk about Dracula, you were talking about this guy. We've talked about this dude, Tracy and I, before with Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. But just to recap, started his career as a Broadway actor for a few years. Did this play, actually. And that's why he ended up in this role. This role typecast him for more than one reason. It's not just because he was Dracula, but he was also like in a lot of horror. He was a horror villain, son of Frankenstein, the third one after Bride. He's Igor. His main issue was he couldn't speak English well.
Yeah.
He couldn't, train his voice to sound more Americanized.
Yeah.
A lot of British actors do nowadays. Benedict Cumberbatch.
Thank you.
Tom Holland.
Man, I didn't even know Tom Holland's not from this country.
Yep, he's British.
Oh, well, still, but they do a lot of work with that.
So you say that in an interview, because I was listening to, I think, something Tom Holland was on a podcast on. He says one of the things it's easier for, at least now, especially for British to America, like to pick up American accent, is because a lot of media comes over from America to Britain, and which obviously then you didn't quite have as much, and this is the very early days of talkie, so you don't get that much coming through. And so also radio dramas, they wouldn't just transfer it over, they just redo it completely over in Britain. So, but like nowadays, you're getting so much influx of American media that a lot of them, they're kind of getting the accents early on to go along with it.
It is wild that he only, as iconic as he is as Dracula, he only played the character twice.
And then after, wasn't he like, nah, I don't want to be typecasted again?
Right. But it took 20 years between, what year did Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein? That was a 50s film, right?
No, 1948.
Yeah, I thought it was post-war. So 17 years, so nearly 20 years.
Right.
Between.
It's a Wonderful Life was 46. That's where.
Of course, he was introduced to Ed Wood afterwards, and I think we talked about this last time when we talked about him. I feel like that Ed Wood exploited Bela Lugosi.
Oh, probably, most definitely.
Yeah.
I still believe that.
I feel like Ed Wood exploited is enough you need to say in that sentence.
Yeah. But because here's the irony. This dude was a charter member of SAG. He was one of the first members of the Screen Actors Guild.
Oh, wow.
And he wasn't taken care of at the end of his life.
That's crazy.
Which opened up Ed Wood to exploit him.
Oh, man.
That is fucking wild to me.
That is wild.
Especially, we're talking about the strike now, which as we're talking, the writer's strike is virtually over.
Yeah, they just have to vote on it or something.
Yeah, the union just has to vote.
But the union could fall apart. They still could fall apart, though.
I don't think they will, because it seems like a lot of people that like strike captains are in favor of it. But in 1931, Bela Lugosi wasn't the only Dracula.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you talking about the Hungarian?
I'm talking about the Spanish Dracula.
I don't know why I got them mixed up. Because
Bela Lugosi is Hungarian.
Yeah. So they've had a different Dracula for the Spanish version. So that Lugosi Europe and Dude Europe.
Carlos Villar. That's what he was known as Conde Dracula. This is a famous version of the movie that, if you're a film connoisseur, you know about. Because back in the day, when silent films were made, it was easy to send to other countries, right? You don't have to have any voiceover. You don't have any dialogue. You just send the music. Sound, which was only a few years new by 1931, was not. So you have people recording in English. So what they would do is that they would film 2 separate movies at the same time.
One in English, one in Spanish.
Right. And honestly, that would be fucking awesome if they did something like that instead of overdubbing lines now.
Oh yeah, and it just doesn't like it sounds a little weird, or it's like it's not grammatically correct or something.
A lot of trying to get the voice to line up with the movement of the mouths. Like I feel that's way over focused as well.
Or if you watch an English version of a foreign film, they don't sound like they're into it. But I mean, I just would like, this would be kind of cool if they did. Like, imagine them filming a Spanish Avengers Endgame. It'd be something like Sofia Vergara as Pepper.
Black Widow. I was about to say, or Black Widow.
When you see Bella, like if you see some shots, like when you see him at first, it's just a static shot on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But for Carlos Villar, it's a very nice crane shot. And this movie is a half hour longer.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah. And I won't get into every single difference. I'll talk about a few, but yeah, watch the Spanish version of this movie if you ever get a chance.
But we might have it.
Yeah, I may have it because it was only time I can think of is that it was on the Universal Monster DVD set, DVD/Blu-ray. Anyways, we're dropping off Renfield, and that carriage rider is like the wind. He's like, get the fuck out, bye.
You're on your own, bud.
And then we get Bela as the carriage rider, Dracula, taking him to the castle.
With the bat
Yeah,
the carriage.
Yep. And I love that they painted this castle, this background over the shot.
Okay, I was wondering if that was like a set that they kind of designed to get that shot, or if that was a painting that they kind of meticulously figured out the shot to.
It's kind of like how they used to do Looney Tunes. They used to paint on glass and then film that.
Uh-huh.
But he arrives at the castle, and now we have the other indigenous to Europe creature, armadillos. It is weird that where you see armadillos nowadays.
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about in America only.
Climate change.
Yes. And they all are dumb as rocks because they die all the time from cars.
Mm-hmm.
I see more armadillos on the side of the road than anything else.
I always get so sad because their little shells are like.
They are not heroes in a half shell.
Turtle power.
Heroes in a dead shell.
Every time I think of armadillos, I think of the boss from Mega Man X.
Dracula greets him. This motherfucker does not pay for any bit of house cleaning.
Nope.
Like, not a fucking bit. Like, even like some of his floors are fucking dirt.
And there's like cobwebs and stuff everywhere. It's like
It's the A aesthetic.
Which wasn't this scene was referenced in that movie Renfield, right?
Yes. They reshot some of these scenes for that movie.
In black and white. It is
And
so cool.
some of the actors from that, they used some archive footage. I do love the sound of the castle. It's really creepy. I love it. It's getting you in the mood. I guess we talked about how there's no music. You get in that eeriness, right? One of the things that is funny is because you watch this movie, you weren't really scared, right?
No.
Imagine, 1931, first time you ever saw it.
Probably.
Freaked the fuck out. But this was like, I was talking about how like everything had referenced this movie. Even Leave It to Beaver talked about this movie. The episode was like trying to convince Mama Beaver to have Little Beaver. I can't remember the fucking names.
Beverly, George, and
How the fuck?
I don't know.
It's okay. You don't have to look that up. I'm just like, how is that something you know?
Oh, I was wrong completely. It is
Okay.
Wally, Beaver, June, and Ward.
Okay, yeah. But June Beaver was being convinced by someone to let Little Beaver watched Dracula numerous times to get over getting scared.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like how I did with Nightmare on Elm Street.
With me. Because I would not sleep for days.
As he's wearing the glove.
Oh my god, yeah, he would scare this motherfucker would scare us all the time with that glove. He would be like, and I would like literally
Just scratch
like,
your back with it. Just what the fuck?
yes, he would just be like, and I'm like, oh my god, that is creepy.
We found a new like thing to do, and like here his door creaks.
Uh-huh.
So it's like being in Dracula's castle. I just like
He just
barely
pushes it and just stares creepily. But the thing is, I would do the same.
Y'all need to sit up where you have the tracking shot where just the lights on your eyes, like you see with Dracula. And this one, just that's all you see. Silhouette and lit eyes.
Oh, speaking of scaring you with that with the Freddy's glove, I really wanted to cut a hole in your mattress so I can burst out with it.
Oh my god!
And grab you like they do Johnny Depp.
Man, I would have been traumatized.
That's professional therapy at that point.
That's I would need you would need to pay for my therapy.
Yeah, that's out there, man.
I mean, I was just trying to get them into horror.
We're pretty much into horror, so it did some work. So the whole bed thing probably would have scared me out of it.
Oh, well, when you were a baby or a toddler, yeah,
Something.
Shit.
Oh man, I would.
You would have never watched a horror film the rest of your life. So we get to this scene. We're in the dining room, and Renfield had to keep it secret. He came to Dracula, but apparently contracting is fucking important to this old ass man.
Uh-huh.
Because he's trying to lease Carfax Abbey, and the way he reads the fucking contract for the lease, he's just like wanting to make sure everything was squared away.
I think so. I got the idea that in the kind of Renfield is Dracula's first ever familiar, and it's just traditionally seen in a lot of vampire media now. It's like the human that could do stuff for them outside of night and daylight.
Yeah. And well, at first he's like, I'm gonna give Renfield here a roofie colada with this wine so I can take his blood. And when he passes out on the floor out of nowhere, instead of just, going to bed, but whatever, which I think this scene is better done in the Francis Ford Coppola version with Keanu Reeves, even though he's not Renfield, but this is a similar scene. But his brides come up to Renfield and are like trying to prey on him. And Dracula's like, no.
This is my man, bitches.
Yeah.
My food. Back off.
Now, here's one big difference. In the Spanish version and the Francis Ford Coppola version, it is the brides that take him. The Tod Browning changed this, and then the studio was like, you can't have him try to suck blood out of Renfield because it'll look gay.
And what do you know? It kind of
hint, it still looks gay coded.
I'm trying to remember because it's when I watched Wednesday, or Tuesday, so I'm trying to remember. Okay, so that was also like when Renfield cut his finger on the glass, right?
Yeah.
And Dracula's like, ooh, that looks delicious. And then he gets like the cross, and he's like, I know.
Religion.
No, the way he did it. The way he did it.
The skin of a killer.
So now we got to go to England. We have to get on this ship. Renfield is under Dracula's control, and you see a whole new side of him. And this is where you
really see
he really shines in this movie from this. Just batshit crazy. But
yeah, like his eyes are just
eating bugs.
Yeah, I love it.
I love that.
Especially when they, when it's pointed down into the cellar after the police open up, and he's just wide-eyed.
He's like smiling all big, laughing.
Oh, it is. In the Spanish version, it is even pristine because he's even more over the top.
But they just kind of determine he's crazy. He's like, look at his eyes instead of eating bugs.
What I thought was funny is that you notice when they did show the ship and some of the sailors, they were moving fast.
Yes.
That's because they ripped that from a silent film.
Which one?
I can't remember, but silent films were filmed differently.
They were filmed more faster, right? Or something.
Yeah, more frames per second.
Yeah.
Most silent films aren't over an hour. Also, when they get the port, he's like, "Master, we're safe." And Dracula, it's just said, "I can't hear you in this fucking casket, you dumbass."
He was sleeping, enjoying his nap.
The newspaper, though, did you read it?
That's what I was mentioning whenever they were talking about sending him to a mental hospital.
Man, that is something that would never happen today.
Yeah. And didn't it say something about all the sailors being killed as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just all slaughtered, and it's like,
Nah.
And then
And
some loony dude.
so now we're in London, and at first it felt like Dracula didn't really care for Renfield anymore. He's like, I got to London, fuck him.
Yeah.
But then he becomes more important. But he takes his flower girl into the mist, kills her, just need a little nibble before going to see the symphony.
Like I thought, like with just feet under. No, he's straight up like, you know what? I'm dead. Like I'm sucking you dry. And just like fuck. Dracula gets no shit. It's like not even like trying to cover for himself and hypnosis and like I'm gonna use you as a blood bag, like you see with Mad Max Fury Road kind of thing. Just
But he goes into the symphony, and while he is honorable enough to buy a ticket, he also likes to hypnotize women. And that's when he meets Dr. Seward, who was also in the Broadway production with Bela. So they act well together in the scenes that you do see them. Dracula's introducing himself. He's like, "Hey, I'm your neighbor. Hiddly diddly, bleddily,
Diddly do.
diddly, diddly, diddly,
you guys
diddly,
are the
diddly."
crazy people, right?
You notice that Bela looks shorter than.
Yes.
There's a reason for that.
Why?
So when you go into a balcony in a symphony, there's a step. He's standing outside of the balcony.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, he's a short king. I mean,
He is not short. He is actually like 6'1". So he's like they're actually it's like this. He's standing below him.
Wow.
Just a blocking shot. I don't know why they did it, but yeah. But this is where you meet John Harker, who is played by David Manners.
Extremely jealous boyfriend.
Yeah, and also a fucking dumbass.
That's putting it nicely.
This is the Keanu Reeves character. If you've watched that version, which they did a whole lot more with him in that movie. John Harker, friends with Bela, I guess, because he's also one of the first SAG members. And that was probably because of pay. Did y'all read about the pay? Well, I know Tracy didn't. Did you read about the pay?
Mm-mm.
Bela Lugosi was paid $500 a week, all because he just wanted to see some success in Hollywood.
Oh,
So he took a lower pay to be in this movie.
wow.
David Manners took $2,000 a week. Yeah, David technically got paid more than Bela Lugosi. Most of it went to Warner Brothers because he was loaned out by Warner Brothers. And when you loan someone out, you get a part of their paycheck.
Wow. So that's kind of like, why didn't studios just have loan more people up? Like, here's you.
They
go back to
did.
that.
They
So,
did.
damn.
And since they were under contract, they got a part of their salary.
God, that's man. Early day Hollywood was so fucking parasitic and toxic.
But David is also in The Mummy. So you get another person that'll be in The Mummy. A lot of these people work together for years. And seeing all these films people have been in make me think about all these movies that have come out in our lifetime that no one will ever see.
Yeah.
Right. So David Manners been in a lot of movies. Most people will see him in Dracula, maybe The Mummy. That's it.
I mean, how many movies has Hollywood lost over the years as well? Like, just kind of like burned up in random fires and.
Well, a lot of silent films are gone. And you have TCM, which tries to introduce these older films, these classic films to a new audience, which is good. I love TCM for that reason. But these companies should throw these movies up somewhere because they do have a lot of them in storage.
I was looking at something kind of like for Nosferatu and stuff, and it says that it's available on like Pluto.
It's a public domain.
Yeah, like a lot of these public domain.
Yeah, but Nosferatu was technically supposed to be all destroyed
Why?
because the Bram Stoker's widow actually sued the company that made this, and Germany ordered all prints to be destroyed for copyright infringement. But I'm thinking about like movies now, like Think about like someone like Steve Martin's filmography. No one's ever seen all of his movies. Some of them you can't even find.
Oh, really? Even some of his?
Yeah, like you can't find anywhere to buy unless you went to an older media form like VHS.
which is kind of sad.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like some of these movies, film companies are like, "Hey, we're not going to make anything off this movie. Throw it on YouTube. Put it in the Internet Archive."
Yeah, but that's a good website. I love that.
I do too. That's what I mean. Like, preserve these movies for people to see. And Dracula is just like, I'm coming in your balcony, bitch. And I'm going to prey on these women, Lucy and Mina. And we go back home almost immediately after that. And Mina is here making fun of Dracula. I love her quote, give me someone a little more normal. But however, Lucy is smitten with Oh Drac. And I do want to note that in the Spanish version, the Latina actresses are wearing less clothing. Well, because if you see what they're wearing in this movie, they're very much all covered up. No cleavage, nothing like that. Spanish version, because standards outside of the US weren't so fucking prudish, they wore regular fucking clothes. And I feel like we're kind of going toward that again. Like people that bitch about sex in movies.
Oh yeah.
But then we get a random ass scene of Bella kind of walking down the road and a British cop talking about the fog, which what the fuck? Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's just like,
That feels like a filler.
Yeah, like we got to pad this runtime. It's all right, like by about 15 seconds. He's watching Lucy through the window too, and this dude chose to take a stroll through the fucking city instead of flying like he already could.
Yeah.
And this effect doesn't look good in 2023. 1931 though, this looked good. And I do love the transition from Bat to Bat Bella. We just move the camera over and then move right back. And Bella's like
Magic.
ah. But in the Spanish version, it was more unique. It was smoke.
That's actually a lot better.
It would be like smoke rising, and then he would be like bent down and then just stand up.
I'm Dracula in a box.
And the reason that these are so different is because in the Spanish version filmed at night, okay?
Right.
They had the benefit of seeing the dailies from Tod Browning. So they would get to watch like what they had filmed that day.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, okay, we're going to change that, make this better. Even as good as this movie is, like there are a lot significant differences in the Spanish. And I do like the static in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now there is a music score to this movie.
In the Spanish version?
No, in this movie. But it wasn't produced until
Like
10, 15 years. Yeah, 90s. Universal paid someone to make a score for it.
Huh.
There's also a silent film version.
Yes. Wasn't that part of with the Spanish and regular version?
I think so. So he has killed Lucy. And we transition to a bunch of doctors watching an autopsy of Lucy. Like they're like in these old style, like early 1900s where they're in the back, like they have these seats like they're watching a fucking wrestling match.
Yeah, what was that? The Werewolf in London we watched with
the werewolf,
the Wolfman. Like it's very similar, like shot to that where you have like these rows of people just staring in on. I'm like, what is this?
But yeah, all these London doctors, we're just gonna look down at people while they're getting, these dead corpses.
They're British, so I guess so.
Here they talk, hey, there's 2 marks on her neck, blah blah blah. In the Spanish version, they actually show the marks.
Mm-hmm.
Which would have been like, what, 2 dots or something?
Yeah, because, oh no. Showing skin.
Or just any form of violence.
We get to the sanatorium, and it's where we see Renfield getting his bugs taken away, and probably the most annoying guy in this movie to me.
The mental health worker or whatever?
Yeah, the guy with the Cockney accent. Hey, Gardner.
If this movie was made now, he'd be the humor. He'd be the let's get a joke, let's make everybody laugh.
Yeah, it wasn't even funny to me here. Did this really need any comic relief?
No.
Well, I mean, it was like 1930s, so they kind of thought so.
Almost immediately after that, we are introduced to Van Helsing.
Van Helsing.
Hugh Jackman.
Yes, Hugh Jackman. He time traveled to be in this. Okay, like Renfield. In Renfield, they did those back the new movie. They did those classic shots. I've been praying that they had made that into a real movie. Like they did like a remake of the 1931 with Nick Cage and Nicholas Hoult. It would have been awesome if they had fucking Hugh Jackman as Van Helsing. This would have been amazing. This would have been amazing. And fuck it. Bring in Keanu Reeves as John Harker. That would have been amazing to me.
Yeah.
And he is in Frankenstein. He introduces the movie because so in Frankenstein, when it opens up, there's a guy comes out of the curtain. He's like, "Hey, this is the movie. Don't be scared." Kind of like to relate to so Alex can understand the first few Treehouse of Horrors.
Oh,
When Marge comes out, that's what that reference is. Yeah, man, he has some thick ass glasses though.
nerd glasses, like.
Oh yeah.
Like fucking magnifying glasses. And so in Van Helsing, the 2000 whatever movie, you know, he's a classic. My family's been fighting vampires for centuries, blah, blah, blah. And this one, he just knows about them and solves the case quicker than everyone.
Yeah. He's like, some vampires, because I know.
And for some reason, Renfield can just walk in and out of his room.
Which is a luxury, I guess.
No, they're like, he just keeps able, like they say, like, oh, he keeps escaping his room. I'm like, what the fuck are y'all doing then?
Like, you're just letting him? Like, okay, cool.
Instead of, you know, Cockney guy going, all right, Governor, gotta lock you up in here.
Gotta throw away your books, eh?
Gotta put another shrimp on the barbie. That's
That was
Australian,
just
but oh well.
I know, yeah.
He asks him why he wants to get away, and then Renfield like starts talking about Mina, doesn't want her to have bad dreams. So you're kind of seeing like Renfield doesn't necessarily want to be all that bad. And we get another decent transition at night before the Cockney worker shows back up to make fun of Renfield. I'm still trying to figure out if Renfield became a vampire.
He's like this weird hybrid. Like it's never fully explained. Like he's eating bugs and stuff. He's crazy, but he's not like.
He's not as, I guess he wouldn't be as powerful as Dracula, because Dracula is like more powerful than him. But he's kind of like still kind of immortal, I think.
Mm-hmm. Dracula comes to see Renfield, and the lighting or makeup is really good on Renfield here to show different emotions. He telepathically tells him to do something he doesn't want to do, and then he goes to attack Mina, who kind of remembers what happened to her. But then John is trying to gaslight her ass.
Because of course, it's like what, technically 1930s. It's like,
no, this is set in the 1880s.
1800. Well, still, it's kind of like, you know, yep, you're crazy. Go get a lobotomy or something.
But meanwhile, Van Helsing's like, okay, I believe you. I believe all women. And Dracula shows up just out of nowhere. You know, he's just going to walk on a dude's property. Starts flirting with Mina in front of everyone.
This is like he walks down the stairs into their property, and like it's not even like he's like in their house already. Like, dude, I came down from upstairs, bitches, knowing where this is where you caught me at.
Van Helsing does this a few times where he's just nodding. He's just like,
he's just getting ready to throw hands. That's what that is.
I might sound goofy, but isn't there like in like what like Mickey Mouse or something that there's a duck based on Van Helsing, or am I just imagining that?
I don't know.
You might be right.
Van Helsing discovers there's no reflection, and Dracula is like, one more time for the people that didn't notice it, where he's like making sure people can see the lack of reflection.
And then like Helsing tries to like, what's wrong with this? And like put his face, and of course Dracula like is like, no, I can't see it.
By the way, Bela looks good in this movie. He's like 50.
50 like that is like 30 back in that day.
Yeah, then Helsing gets Drac pissed with the mirror. I love it. Love his haircut. Kind of reminded me of like Abe Simpson. Van Helsing's. And now Johnny Unitas, that's a hairdo you can sink your teeth in.
That's a cotton heel haircut.
But he's also got this tie, like this, like
Yeah.
a fucking weird ass tie people would wear in like westerns when they were dressed up.
Yeah, like they'd come across and just kind of cross at the instead of tying up, it just
And did you see the pants John was wearing? Where they're like, or you know how we had to blouse our fatigues.
yes.
Imagine that, but the like wider and up mid calf.
Oh, that was like an entire thing of like German dress uniform and British military. That's like a British military uniform kind of thing then as well. So I mean, definitely, yep, I can see it.
And this is the only time I can recall thinking about Dracula, whatever, where he's able to transform into a wolf.
Uh-huh. Like I've never seen it in any other media, Dracula turning into a wolf.
I do like this line that Van Helsing says, the strength of the vampire is that people will not believe in him. Basically, the devil's greatest trick was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Uh-huh.
Nice line. I like it. And this motherfucker goes back to find Mina while the men are having a robust debate.
Like just shows up at the tree, just like, hey,
Yeah. Just
boombox, just
yeah, say anything.
baby, come back. Oh wait, I hypnotized you. You coming back anyway?
I cannot get over how the loophole to bring Vlad over to Vlad the Impaler, which this is what Dracula's always been based on, and bring Dracula over to London. The loophole, as long as he has some dirt from his castle, it's good. He's good to go.
His whole soul underneath his coffin.
It's such a dumb loophole.
I mean, it fits into everything though. Like everybody uses it now though.
I know,
Like,
and it's still a dumb loophole.
you need to watch when there's an episode What We Do in the Shadows, like they get it made and somebody cleans up the dirt underneath the coffin, and so they can't sleep, and so they're going like days without sleep.
But Renfield shows back up because this, fuck security, I guess. Tries to warn him about Mina until Dracula shows up because this bat scared off by John. And Renfield does really make this movie even more. And this is where this nurse passes out on the floor and he starts trying to suck her blood, or it looks like. That's not the case. In the Spanish version, it actually keeps going.
Uh-huh.
There was a fly around her.
Renfield was just looking at lunch.
Yeah, and I don't know why they cut that, because she shows back up in a scene or two later, so she never was attacked. And this is about the time that you hear a kid crying, so Lucy is just out killing kids.
Yay.
Now, in other versions of any Dracula movie, Lucy is killed. Like Van Helsing and John and all them kill Lucy before she can fully turn. It's in the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula. It's even in the fucking Dracula Dead Loving It with Leslie Nielsen. We talked about Peter McNichol before. He's in it. But here, her fate is actually left unclear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't know if she was killed. You don't know if she turned back into a human.
They gotta leave that vague.
Yeah. And everyone in the morning is talking about, these kids are dead, or this kid is dead. And Mina is like, yeah, I was having dreams about it. So you are suspect number one for opening your mouth. Van Helsing tells her, I'm going to kill a bitch and I'm going to save you. And I do like that Mina knows where she's heading, unlike in the Francis Ford Coppola version. In that one, Winona Ryder is like being more mesmerized and doesn't really understand what's going on.
I mean, it kind of feels that way. Like you still see Mina like, I love you, John, but I love him more. Like she can't quite explain why she likes him more, but it's like, I feel the need to go with him.
Yeah, but then you have John here who isn't listening to the fucking expert. But Dracula wakes up, we get not another transition, and it dawns on Van Helsing, oh, wait, he's next door. Let's just go next door. Again, Renfield escapes. Cockney guy doesn't have a clue. Hey, where you going, mate? And this is where Renfield drops the T on Dracula. And he talks about rats. Rats. He promised me rats.
Rats.
Walks in to talk to Van Helsing, or this is where Dracula does, and tells him, Dracula's like, hey, motherfucker, I won. And Van Helsing's like, I don't think so. Dracula tries to tempt Van Helsing, which is pretty cool here. And it seems to work at first, but his will is stronger.
Will is stronger than the sword or something. I don't know.
And this is where I discovered that there is still a Facebook page for Dracula run officially by Universal that is updated like once every 6 months. Just every now and then.
He's got to keep the Facebook page of Mummy and The Thing and Swamp Thing all kind of going as well.
Like they have a Universal Monsters Facebook page, then they have one just for Dracula. Yeah, John, meanwhile, goes upstairs to see Mina, and this is where the nurse is knocked out. Mina has to change clothes for the final act, and John is still dumb as fuck.
Let's leave, baby. Let's go away.
Because they were like, don't take Mina outside. First motherfucking thing he does. Or she's out on the balcony, I'm sorry. And he's like, duh.
He's like, duh, duh, duh.
Yeah. I like how when he's talking to her, you can kind of see she's changed. Like, because her eyes are really have like a different look in them compared to how they have, like, they did something like in contacts, but lighting maybe to get the eyes to kind of glitter like they did.
Mm-hmm. I think it was like some kind of light shined on them.
Because it's like too early for contacts, right? Like, they don't
Yeah.
take contacts
Oh, yeah.
for.
But he's more or less like, if I see this woman's ankle, I am going to lose it.
He's gonna go feral.
I am going to splooge.
I saw her wrist.
Oh, but she gaslights the fuck out of him and is about to attack him. So tables are turned. And that's when Van Helsing and Dr. Seward come in and like, whoa, no, stop. And she tells John everything. And then randomly, god damn it, the Cockney guy fucking shoots a gun.
Because he's the cop from fucking Shadow.
Dracula returns for Mina. And he's like, let me in, nurse.
Okay.
And that's when Van Helsing and John follow them to Carfax Abbey. So I'm like, did they plan on him taking her?
Like, the ending of this feels so rushed because it takes like 4 minutes to happen, and it's just like, some of this doesn't make sense logically, but okay.
Right. I do love the set when he takes her in, like the big staircase. Very, very nice looking. I love it. Big OSHA violation though, because of no handrails. So if they had tripped or something, Mina was dead. So was Bela. He'd been like, well, there went my fucking leg. Because this fucking sanitarium has no security, Renfield's back, just showing the fuck back up, and Dracula believes that he led them intentionally back to where he was, and he kills Renfield. In reality, this is all John's fault. Fuck John. If he hadn't yelled out, Renfield wouldn't have died.
And you just see Renfield roll down the stairs.
Oh yeah, I'd have been like, where's the stunt double? He can do it, not me. There's some beautiful like behind the scenes photos of this that y'all should check out sometime. Really nice. The two heroes finally run into the basement to look for Mina, where they find the caskets where Dracula is in. Mina's not. She's kind of like off to the corner because the sunlight scared him back into the casket. Because if Van Helsing had a gun, he would have been like, I'm coming in popping.
Pow, pow, pow.
Do it again.
Bella's like, you see him get in his coffin. It's like, it's daylight, but they're not daylight around him. Like, I don't know. Like, he could have surely fought him off. Like, he didn't think he could hide in his coffin, right? Like, I gotta go to sleep. I can't.
Yeah. This is a really weak ending, and this is probably because of the Broadway play. It could have done something else here.
Yeah, because like just opens the casket, stick.
Oh man, he was like ready to. Man, Van Helsing was ready to stab Mina. He's like, I'm ready to go, bitch.
Yeah, like I seriously thought when he said she's not in here, go check down that way, that he was telling her that so he could kill Mina without Harker seeing. I thought that's what the story was going to be.
That honestly might have been better. But, we can't have that. We can't have that depressing ass ending.
You got to have him save. You got to be the hero. So,
you got to save the damsel in distress.
So they kill Dracula and she reverts back to human.
Oh yeah, just the sound that Bela makes when he dies was actually taken out of this movie.
Wasn't it because of the production code or whatever?
Yep, the Hays Code. For many decades, or because of the Hays Code, like this was deemed too violent. They took it out. It was put back in later, but yeah. There was another scene or another sound that was taken out, and I can't remember which one. I also kind of like this because it's not like so actiony. It's just we're here to kill Dracula.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Got to wrap this movie up, baby. Van Helsing, though, is like, you two go on. I'm going to stick around for whatever fucking reason. I never understood why he wanted to stay, though. I guess just so they can get the shot of them two walking off hand in hand.
Into the daylight, showing that she's healed.
And yeah, that wraps up the movie. Thanks for seeing us. A Universal Picture. Peace.
Like, there's no credits either. Like, I thought there'd be some end credits.
No, the credits was at the beginning with the Swan Lake.
Yeah. Oh, I was still figuring, like, a little bit of credit at the end, like camera, blah, blah, setting, recorded at.
Yeah, no, just peace. Over.
Lights on.
Now, originally, at the end of the movie, Van Helsing, the actor, comes out of a curtain like in Frankenstein and says something, but that is kind of lost now. Universal took it out. And yeah, that's Dracula, the 1931 classic. We just end on a note.
A little anticlimactic note, if you ask me, but that's what it is. I can see why it is a classic. It is very coming into it nowadays for the first time. Like, you can see why it was so favored, but like, it's not very, nowhere near as like contemporaries are today.
Yeah.
In terms of like gruesomeness, pace, and just kind of over the top, as we'll see with the couple coming up, just how over the top they can be in some of their aspects.
Mm-hmm. Alex, what are your thoughts on this
what's-
movie?
I was about to say, like, there's not much I can say that hasn't been said. Obviously, it's paved the way for like a lot of horror movies now, which kind of changed the way that, Dracula, it was more simple. But now it's a lot different. So there's that. And it's just, even if you haven't seen it, you just might as well know what it is and the image of Dracula, which is Bela Lugosi, which pretty good in this movie. Pretty good.
Iconic.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's start with the acting. Really good act. Bela Lugosi understood the assignment, mainly because he's done the assignment. And I do like less is more in this instance. I like Van Helsing. I do think Tod Browning fumbled the end. For whatever reason, the ending is fumbled. Like, you get to the climax with like 4 minutes.
Is that how other iterations of Dracula ends, or is that just kind of?
No, there is a fight ass scene. There is a big fight scene at the end. Like, you're referring to like Francis Ford Coppola,
or that Dracula,
or even the Hammer films with Christopher Lee. That is also very, there's a climax.
I wonder if they're giving a deadline. Just like, look it.
I know I've mentioned this, but watch and compare this to the Spanish version. This is a great movie. Watch the Spanish version. It's a great way to compare cinematography. You have two different production crews, two different sets of actors, all tasked with making the exact same movie.
Yeah.
So you're going to get different performances. I do wish Tod Browning had taken a seat and watched some of the Spanish version being made. Like, because there's some shots where he is like fucking 20 fucking ass feet away from Bella. And then you have the Spanish version, which is much more closer to bring it in more, using more of of their frame and their space. I would love, like, I know we've talked about Universal Monster. I would love to have the collection with all the movies. That would be an amazing collection.
Hint, Alex, for Father's Day.
Yeah, or birthday
coming up. Yeah,
before I turn 40. I know. Fuck. Anyways, we're not going to dwell on my age. Fuck this. So that wraps up Dracula 1931. Anything else y'all want to add before we wrap this up?
Nothing I can think of.
Whatever's been said has been said.
So what are we doing next week, Tracy?
Next week, we are doing Halloween 2. This is obviously the second one. We did the first one last year and thought a good apropos to come back to a sequel. We are hitting a lot of sequels this year, which is fine. I'm cool with it.
2 sequels.
3 sequels.
This month?
Because
3,
Ghostbusters,
yeah.
Evil Dead, and then... Yep.
3. Yeah. We got sequelitis this month.
We should do a sequel month.
We've already thought about that. But we got to have Tracy watch the first fucking movies first,
I gotta watch the one first. Yep.
as we can't review a sequel without reviewing the first one.
But we could do let's say a binge starter.
A franchise starter.
Yeah, starter pack.
Fast and Furious. Ew, no. Okay. All right. Yeah, we're doing Halloween 2. We're gonna have a lot of the same actors we talked about the last time we touched on the first one. Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasance, great movie. I mean, not as good as the first one. It's gonna be much different.
I think this will be my first time watching that one as well.
But that'll do it for the 35mm podcast this week. I have been Matt.
I've been Tracy.
And I've been Alex. Mwahaha. No, I'm not doing that show.
Wahaha.
Whoa.
Now I'm starting to turn into Dr. Evil laugh. All right. So until next time, watch our shit. Love us. Love you. Peace.
Watch in the background of whatever you're doing.
All right. Have fun.
Peace.
Bye.